Hello, listeners, and it's Adrian here from Arcade Attack. Welcome to another podcast. Joined, as always, with Dylan.
Hello, mister.
And my humble and more than welcome guest.
I thought you were going to say, like, well-travelled,
You're not a guest. Rob is, he's part of the pod. Rob, man.
Oh, me. I was looking around to see who you were talking about.
I don't know if you, guys, I know you've probably been thinking of not sleeping well at night with this one thought in your head for many, many years. So it's about time we put a quash and try and move on.
I don't want to talk about climate change.
No, I was thinking, what it would be like to have, if you were born with horns on your head.
I mean, I do worry about that occasionally. And it's just like, you'd go through a lot of pillows, wouldn't you, really? You kind of like spear them a little bit and like...
Well, I don't need to...
Your missus would get a bit annoyed.
I don't need to wonder about that because I've read Hellboy.
And what did Hellboy do about his horns?
I believe he got his horns cut off.
Yeah, he had them cut off in a pretty brutal fashion, didn't he?
He did. We don't condone that, and actually...
We do not condone the cutting of horns on Hellboys.
I've also seen the film Legend with Tim Curry as that big horn devil guy.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you, he was also pretty horny in that film.
Frankenfurter style.
Yeah, a little bit more like Labyrinth style in the sense that he tried to kidnap a young girl to be his bride.
I'm just pulling a funny face. I don't even have anything to say.
You're trying to grow horns at your head, aren't you?
It was the mid-80s. It was a different time.
Different times.
So anyway, yeah, we'll talk about horns growing at your head soon because there's a point to it. It'll come soon.
Hey.
Pun intended.
Yeah. Even more bizarre than getting horns in your head, I actually had a kind of spare weekend before Christmas. You know, December when it's so chock-a-block?
Yeah.
I actually sat down one day, it was Sunday, and I was like, we ain't doing anything this day. How crazy is that?
That doesn't sound more bizarre than having horns to me.
That's pretty bizarre, though, having a free day over Christmas.
So it was a lazy Sunday, and I was like, Tate's doing that, my Becca's doing this, I'm sort of twiddling my thumbs. I thought I'd play a video game, and I was looking through my library. I thought, I might try something a bit new. And I noticed there was a game called ICO.
ICO.
Adrian is holding up the game case. So it's like, you know, like you get that thing for blind people, like they describe what's going on. I'm going to be that guy. Adrian holds up case. Adrian looks at Dylan furiously. Adrian will now carry on with podcast.
That's fine. But anyway, so I thought...
Adrian talks into the microphone.
Because I remember picking up ICO a few months before. I thought, I saw it cheap, I think on eBay. I just, when you look around eBay, I thought, I've heard about this game before. I've never played it. I've won it, and I put it in my collection. Didn't really think about it. We're all guilty, aren't we?
We are. Maybe not of that, but of other things.
So I thought, it's about time I cracked open this game and see what all the hype's about. Because I've heard about it, and Dylan, who tried to put me off, he said, don't play this game, mate, it's terrible.
I say, I hate this game. Why are you even bothering with this game?
Yeah,
you suck. I think I said, you suck. Have a nice day.
Yeah, basically. So I put it in, I said, against Dylan's wishes, basically. And, I really enjoyed it, I have to say. It was amazing. It was, I completed it, not in that one day, but over the next sort of 2 weeks. After work, I'd find an hour here, an hour there. And it didn't take me that long to complete it, but I found the time in between work and stuff.
Did you work out all the puzzles all yourself?
Well, we'll come to that.
So wow, Dylan, first California games, now this. Sounds like you're 0 for 2. Like, you know how much Adrian loves the hacky sack on California games.
Me and Adrian aren't really aligning at the minute regards games, but yeah, go on.
No. So ICO is a game that was released in 2001 for the PlayStation 2 and later for the PlayStation 3 in 2011. It's a third-person action game, so action-adventure game published by Sony and developed by Team ICO.
I like the way that you and Rob kind of do that hang thing where you expect us to somehow miraculously know these things.
Well,
I feel like Samsung was credible.
Dylan does that to Rob. Rob does not respond.
Oh man,
Adrian carries on talking.
I'll carry on talking because do you know what? When I was playing it, the first few days, I thought, this is a really good game, but something was itching at the back of my mind. I was like, well, it just reminds me very similarly of Twilight Princess, the Zelda game. And I thought, this game's obviously just stolen a few ideas. But this game was made before Twilight Princess. And
in your face, Zelda.
So I apologise. I apologise to Fumito Ueda, who made this game. It is basically, again, I don't want to talk too much about the Zelda links, but it's basically the biggest temple in Zelda you can imagine. A huge castle, and you just need to escape that castle. Simple as that. Puzzles, jump in here, jump in there, and that in a nutshell, that's basically it, with a couple of small asterisks in the corner, which we'll talk about. I've got to talk now about the legendary Fumito Ueda. Now, have you heard about this guy before?
Don't think so.
Big deal. He's only made. I mean, he's worked on a few games, but his proper name has been attached to 3 now. And I know Dylan's a sort of fan of Shadow of the Colossus. This is a
sort of after looking at a playthrough.
And he's made another game called The Last Guardian, which is a PS4 game, I believe, as well. Before he was given the sort of rights and the reins to make his own sort of games, and he originally worked for the legendary Kenji Eno. Have you heard of this dude before?
Sounds vaguely familiar.
He's quite well regarded in the Sega world, and he worked on a number of Sega games. I think one of his biggest ones was Enemy Zero, and he also worked on the survival horror series D. I don't know if you heard of the D horror.
Yeah, D is like what do you call it? It's a sequel of Balls. Okay, carry on.
I mean, do you like D? Yeah. Dylan?
So, Fumito Ueda, he first got his job at Sega in 1995, started work on a Saturn game called Enemy Zero, like I said, as a simple anime. I say simple anime, I can do it, as an animator for the game. I don't remember Enemy Zero. No.
Sounds more like a Keith thing.
Keith would know.
Keith!
He described his time working on this project as arduous, so he didn't particularly like it. It was behind schedule. I don't think he particularly liked even being in that particular role. And actually, Kenji Eno didn't actually believe Fumito was particularly great as a CG artist, but he saw a lot of potential in him. He saw a lot of potential for his amazing concepts, designs, the kind of creativity, and he kind of sort of pushed him, saying, "Well, look, come on, mate, you're okay at animation, but you should be, you're made for bigger things." Simply as that. He then joined Sony in 1997. And he was as a first-party developer, where he soon assembled a small team to work on ICO. I mean, Fumito, they must have put a lot of faith in him. Can you imagine that?
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
Rob and Dylan looked at each other, not really knowing what to say. Then they concurred that they should say yes.
I like Fumito actually because after the sort of first few days of playing ICO, I tweeted out, I said, "Brilliant game, love this," and I'll talk about some of the tweets I got.
Then you had me tweeting you, going, "You mother effer, like seriously, like get out of here."
You did, and I was crying for a little bit. But then Fumito Ueda himself liked my tweet.
In your face, Dylan.
So
Yeah.
So I want to tell you a bit more about Fumito because honestly, he's picked up a huge legacy now. People respect him so much, which is, I wouldn't say unusual, but I can't think of many people who have made 3 games. He's worked on other games before, but putting his name on 3 games and built up such a huge reputation. I wonder if you can think of any.
Fumito Ueda.
Maybe the guy that made Tetris, to be fair. There you go, I'll chuck that one out there.
Surely he only made 1 game.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
In your face, he only made 1 game.
I love this. So
Tetris did so well, there's no need for me to make any other games ever again.
I don't see people doing like ICO rip-offs on mobile. In your face, ICO. Sorry.
Well.
Sorry, ICO lovers. I'm a bit of a distraction today.
I'll give you a chance to speak about your views on ICO soon, Dylan. Don't you worry. So I think I've got a few snippets from Fumito here. I think he done a little interview with IGN a few years ago, and he said he described himself as a very inquisitive child, saying, "I enjoyed catching and keeping living things such as fish or birds. Other than that, I like both watching and making animation. Basically, I seem to be interested in things that moved." and he loved art at school. He commented, if I was not in the games industry, I would want to become a classical artist, or regard not only games, but also anything that expresses something, be it films, novels, or manga, as forms of art. Now, again, ICO, a lot of people have, same with Shadow of the Colossus and The Last Guardian, they regard these as unbelievably artistic games. I mean, people regard these games as art. And I don't know, do you have an opinion about that? Do you think games can be pieces of art?
Rob and Dylan look at each other. Dylan has something to venture. They're both the two I've played, Ico and Shadow, very pretty. Very pretty. I mean, the PS2 was obviously a massive step up from the PS1.
Yeah.
But these were probably maybe the two most beautiful games on the console. That's quite a thing for me to say here. So,
Really?
Yeah. Actually.
Yeah.
If you just look at graphics, PS2 titles.
It looks so great. Like I think that's.
Oh.
But having looked at the play, I haven't played this, but having looked at the playthroughs, kind of. Well, I'll get onto that later on, but
I'll pick up that point. They both don't have a great deal of color in them, but if you think about the actual settings, they're not colorful settings. This is like
such a cop out.
A nasty. No, but it's if this castle was colorful, it wouldn't have the same impact. Same with Shadow of the Colossus. If there was any color to those colossi and substantial color to the background, it'd look too cartoony. The whole point, it's meant to have this kind of darkness, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's meant to be like the concept of both of them is really dark.
When Rob hears the story, he'll change his
Rob
tune.
will hear the story and then he will.
But look at kind of the main character's clothing. That's meant to be red, and it looks grey. Everything he's wearing looks grey, just different shades of grey. I don't know. I think
that's another limitation of the PS2.
It looks too washed out. And anyway, to go back to what you asked before, you asked me about games being art.
Yes.
I think games can have artistic elements to them, but I wouldn't class them as art. I know it's going to be an unpopular viewpoint, especially in 2020, but I think for me, it has to be something that's presented wholeheartedly, like wholesale, how the artist wanted it to be done. Does that make sense?
No, I get it. And everyone's had their opinion. I would have to disagree, Rob. I do actually think some games can be
I think games can be art. I think games are art. But that is Rob's opinion, and he's entitled to it.
We're not here to argue.
No, not like most of the internet.
we respect people's opinions. What games do you think, I've got a list here that Fumito speaks about, help influence his style?
Oh, definitely Prince of Persia.
Yes, definitely.
Zelda's.
Yes, definitely. I'll give you a clue. He was a fan of the Mega Drive and the Amiga as well back in the day.
Another World?
Yes, it's on there. I've got it listed
Something
here.
like The Immortal, or no?
Haven't got that, but I have got Flashback as well.
Flashback.
So I've got Flashback and Other Worlds. He also loved Legend of Zelda games, Virtual Fighter, not randomly, but I suppose kind of the 3D
Shadow
elements.
of the Beast? Is that how many more is on this list?
That's about it, really.
Okay, no Shadow of the Beast then.
He was also influenced by Kenji Eno, who we spoke about
Kenji, yep.
earlier. And I don't know if you heard about this series, Rob. I maybe didn't. You've heard of it. But it's a manga series called Galaxy Express 999.
No, I'm not big on my manga.
Apparently, it was a TV series, 1977 to 1981. So he kind of grew up on this, I think, a Japanese space show. I mean, I don't know much about it, truthfully.
Rob and Dill look confused.
Yeah.
They look at Adrian.
No, I'm not confused. Just I don't know it.
Yeah, I thought I'd ask. So Ueda's games are considered to have a very distinctive style. There you go. So
grey, according to Rob.
Well, look, which Ueda himself describes as designed by subtraction. What do you reckon that means?
Subtracting all the colours.
It means that if you kind of take a pre-existing idea of what it's meant to be, you take away some of the things that people assume are necessary in order to create something that's new and works differently, and that people perceive differently in a way they would conventional versions of that.
And Rob's never heard of that concept before. He's just completely guessed that.
Well, it's not difficult.
Well, Rob's kind of on the button. He basically says sparse landscapes, oversaturated lighting, and a minimalistic story to give his games a personal, distinctive feel. Ueda also admitted that in video games, ideas for a gameplay mechanic should be made first, then complemented by a game's story. I'll go into a bit more depth here. So in 2008, IGN ranked Ueda as one of their top 100 games creators of all time, saying that his knack for creating atmospheric puzzle playgrounds with mute or near-mute characters instills a sense of isolation, yet provides an endearing feeling of hope, as the protagonists seek simply to find exodus or redemption from their weather-worn, ornate prisons. Now, this game does remind me of Another World.
Redemption.
Yeah, you're trying to escape. You're trying to get out of that planet. You're working on your own, or are you? We're chucking a little curveball in a minute. But it's very simple. There's hardly any dialogue in this game. Very, very clever. Do you want back of the box?
Only
Yes,
if Rob
I was
sings back of the box. Come on, you only wrote this the other day.
I wrote it months ago.
It was months ago.
Back of the box.
It's back of the box. So we're going to give you the back of the box. It says here, within a world of enchantment and wonder, evil resides in an ancient castle. Ico, a young born with horns, has been expelled from his village and left within this isolated fortress. Embarking on a perilous quest to save himself, as well as a beautiful princess, Ico must find a way to escape.
Would you say she was beautiful?
Dylan, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
I'm sorry.
However,
I'd say ethereal is a better description. but
Ethereal.
Go on.
However, escaping will be no easy task. Every towering staircase and stone block is a piece of a puzzle. Every open window, dangling chain and razor. This escape illuminates another mystery.
It just sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting. Sorry.
Well, the back of the box sums it up quite well, and this is not Walker-esque. Okay, don't worry, it's not a Walker-esque story. But I've got the manual story. I found there's actually a story. Do you want to hear
Yes,
it?
let's hear the story.
This might change Rob's tune a bit. It might even change Dylan's tune a little bit.
Dylan looks at Adrian, not expecting to have his tune changed.
Are you ready? The curse. Ico's nightmare began on the day he drew his first breath. At the moment when he was raised up to the light, a scream ran out into the night, for there, in plain view, was the sign, 2 horns. Quite small but quite distinct, protruding from either side of the newborn infant's head. Ooh.
That would have been awful to give birth to, but go on.
There was
But they were just small at that point.
Regardless, I think all the mums listening to this would say, oops.
There were no joyous celebrations of Ico's birth, no proud expressions in his father's eyes. His arrival brought only suspicion and fear. The villagers had hoped against hope that the curse might skip their generation. But here was the sign, and it could not be ignored, nor could the plagues that struck their children or the failure of the harvest year after year. They prayed desperately for the day when the tribulations would end.
So all these things were Ico's fault? Or...
No, we'll come to that.
Okay.
That day, as tradition decreed, was the day of Ico's 12th birthday. At dawn, the faceless horseman came for Ico. His family did not try to resist, nor did they weep for the loss of their child. Ico's fate had been decided long ago.
Damn them.
What do you reckon his fate is?
To be drowned like the devil child he is?
Close. It's not quite this bad. It's not quite that.
To be locked away in a weird castle forever.
Yes. The
What's
horse...
the point of that?
Just because that's what they like to do with horn guys.
Yeah, Rob, this will explain it. The horse...
I'll explain it, Rob. It's coming.
The horseman rode deep into the dark, twisting forest. Although Ico did not know what his final destination was to be, he could feel his fear rising with every moment that passed. After many hours, an ancient fortress, ruin, came into view. It stood vast and foreboding against the stormy horizon. Ico could hear the sound of waves crashing against the rocky cliffs below. His heart began to pound in his chest as he searched desperately for a way to escape, but found none. His time had come.
No.
Ignoring his desperate cries, the horseman dragged the terrified boy through the fortress gates and into a vast stone hall. Its walls were filled from floor to ceiling with rows of strange stone caskets. It was at this moment that Ico realized what his fate was to be. The horseman bundled him into a casket and pulled the heavy stone lid closed, shutting out the light forever. Ico was left alone in the darkness, sentenced to spend the rest of eternity in silent torment. But now fate had granted a reprieve. Aiko will discover that he is not alone in this mysterious place. A young girl named Yorda has been held captive in the fortress, consumed by loneliness and sorrow.
Not to be confused with Yoda.
No, not to be confused with Yoda. Confused not, Dylan. With Aiko's encouragement, she will begin to have hope once more. However, they will quickly discover that the entire castle is a prison, a fortress from which escape will not be easy. Shadowy spirits emerge from gloomy corners, desperate to drag Yorda back into the darkness. Every twisting staircase, creaking door, and towering pillar is part of a larger puzzle. Each torch and shaft of light only serves to illuminate another mystery. But together, if the pair persevere, they will surely find a way out, a way back to the light.
So, like, is Yorda a ghost woman?
It's never explicitly explained, but Yorda and Aiko seem to be in slightly different beings. Okay,
Freaks.
The freaks.
Put the freaks together in the castle. Shut the door.
And they like sitting on these random sofas that just kind of appear around the game.
Yeah, the random sofas are extremely useful. They're the save points.
Uh-huh.
Put that in your typewriter and
Like
smoke that.
Don't need no ink ribbon for those.
Yeah. Look, that's basically the story. I like it. You're a small boy with horns. You're basically sacrificed. You're chucked away. And the intro is quite good, actually. I like the intro. Again, there's not much speech. You're chucked in this tomb. And for you, an earthquake, you're kind of encased in this kind of tomb. And an earthquake makes you tumble to the floor. You get knocked out. You wake up. And very, very soon you realise that Yorda, she's in like this massive bird cage. So you basically hanging up above the ceiling. You jump on it, it swings down. You both escape. And that's where the game properly starts. Love it. I love those sort of games where the intro you can kind of play, if that makes sense. So before you get to Yorda, you kind of work around, play around, jumping around a little bit. It's a good tutorial. I like it.
That until I played The Last of Us. Everyone at home who's played that
Haven't played it.
will know why I don't like that. No spoilers. Carry on. No spoilers.
I don't want to... Now, obviously, Ico, I will say some spoilers today, so I'm sorry, but it is an old game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if you want to play the game, and I do recommend it. Obviously,
so now if you don't want the spoilers, turn this off now.
Well, yeah, I'm going to
go and play it and then come back.
I think whenever you're going to do a spoiler, you should go wow, wow, so people have a few seconds to plug their ears and fast forward.
Maybe, or we could just we can copy and
paste.
Could
just say there's some spoilers coming.
Yeah, or I could just say it and say sorry. Whoops, spoiler alert. My bad. You find out quite soon that Yorda had been imprisoned by the evil queen. I can't remember what the queen's name is. There's not many characters in this game. I mean, there's only 4 really, if you count them. There's yourself, Aiko, there's Yorda, there's the queen who comes in and out of the game now and then, as in cutscenes mainly, and these shadowy monsters. That's it. It's simple. And in a way, I respect the game for that. It doesn't try too hard. And I love Zelda games, okay? Zelda games are a commitment. You have to level up, get this new weapon, inventory here, do this, do that. Ico is almost like a simplified Zelda game, and that is not meant as it's almost a compliment in a way. It was such a great game to pick up and just get involved into. I'll tell you a little bit more about how Ico was developed, the ideas, how it came about. So Fumito, he wanted to create a very minimalistic game simply around a boy meets girl. That was his big thing. Originally planned for the PlayStation 1. There you go. Ico took approximately 4 years to develop. Again, they must have a lot of faith in this guy. I mean,
4 years is
Team
like...
Ico.
Even in those days, that's mad, 4 years.
That's mad. And let's be honest, Fumito, even though he's a talented dude, he didn't do much before this. Let's be honest. So, fair play to Sony in a way for giving him so much faith. The team employed a subtracting design approach to reduce elements of gameplay that interfered with the game's setting and story in order to create a high level of immersion. The original inspiration for Ico was actually a TV commercial we saw, apparently, of a woman holding the hand of a child while walking through the woods. And the manga series, like I said, Galaxy Express 999, where a woman is a guardian for a young hero as they adventure through the galaxy, which he thought about adapting to a new idea for video games. Oh my words. Tell me, what other video games can you hold the hands of friendly characters?
Dylan and Rob look at each other again.
The amount of times
They don't know what to say.
Look at this. You yank Yorda's hand. I really feel sorry for her, actually.
Because you can't run as fast as Ico.
No, you know, Yorda's slower. She can't jump as well. She's skittish, for a better word. She's scared quite often, and she goes, but you can't talk to each other. You don't understand each other. You don't
speak the same language.
No.
So, like, all of her stuff, you get these weird symbols come on the
So
screen.
you go, hey! You do little grunts and stuff.
And then she goes, blip, blop, blip.
Basically, yeah. That's it. And the way you got to almost communicate is almost through force. I don't like saying it, but you drag her. It's like, follow me, come this way. You know, you go, and she jumps over chasms. You've got to pick her up. Absolutely incredible.
Useless bloody women, eh, Adrian?
I love this. Apparently, there were three aesthetics, three design things, or almost rules that Fumito wanted to have in this game, and he didn't want to ever lose sight of. So number one, he wanted to make a game that would be different from others in the genre. There you go. Number two, feature an aesthetic style that would be consistently artistic. And number three, play out in an imaginary yet realistic setting. And I think the castle looks like it can be. What do you reckon of the castle scene? I think it does have kind of old-fashioned British castles about it, but it's got weird, hard to explain torches. It's almost got some, I don't know, some
quite
pipes, gothic-y stuff going on. It's hard to place. It's not like, oh, that's a castle from the UK, or that's, it's mixing certain genres or certain ideas, and I think it works particularly well personally. Kind of dark, mysterious. You know,
It's great. Like I said, it's like it and Shadow of the Colossus.
It does look a little bit like one of those Lord of the Rings castles.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. So outside of the kind of our universe,
a bit Dungeons and Dragons-y.
I haven't really played that.
Because you play it with your mind. Anyway, sorry, tangent.
One reason why this game didn't do particularly well, one reason they think this game didn't do particularly well originally, especially in the US, was the screen. Okay, the graphics I think are amazing, and we'll talk more in a minute about it, our views on it. I think the graphics are incredible. But when you play the game, there's no health bar. There's no points. There's no infantry. There's nothing going on. It's literally the game. And when that was transcribed in magazines, it almost looked a bit too plain. So the game does not do justice with just solid pictures, I believe. You've got to almost see it in your eyes. Would that detract you from the game if you didn't, if you saw this in the magazine?
Not consciously, but maybe subconsciously my mind would go, looks a bit unfinished.
I wanted it at the time because I was, when I first got the PS2, I was quite into story-driven things. I wanted Silent Hill 2, I wanted Code Veronica, I wanted sort of story-driven. I wasn't too bothered about having points and a life gauge and da-da-da-da-da. So this and Shadow of the Colossus did appeal, but I suppose there would have been a large chunk of the market that would have been, how do I rack up a high score on this? Or, where's my heart thing? Yeah. How did you, because you can die on this, can't you?
If you die...
And how do you know whether, I've forgotten, how do you know when you're near death on this?
You don't. Literally, you only die if you fall off a cliff or
spirity things kill you.
No, the spirity things, actually, they can't kill you.
They can kill Yorda.
They can kill you. They suck her. If they grab her, they can suck her into a sort of black hole. It appears in the ground. And if she's in there too long, you can pull her out, which is amazing animation, by the way, where they pull her out. Yeah. But if she's in it too long, game over. Yeah. So the game can finish if you die from a height, or if she dies.
She gets,
if Yorda gets captured, guys. Yeah. Or if you, spoiler alert, get killed at the end by the final boss. The only boss. There's one boss in the game. I'm sure you can guess who it is. Gameplay. I'll let Dylan chip in later with the gameplay. Yeah. I know he's got a few views, but for me personally, I loved it. Okay, so it reminded me a little bit of Sleepwalker in the sense that you always have to. In most games, you're worried about yourself, aren't you?
Yeah.
But in this game, you've always got to keep Yorda in the background. You can't leave her on her own too long. Shadowy monsters can pop up from almost nowhere. And you've got to take her with you. If you go to different rooms, if you go into a different room, for example, and she's left in a sort of a different room, that's when trouble starts. So you always have to take her with you. So I love the idea. And in a way, it could sound almost like, oh, that's annoying. I've always got to keep an eye on this person. Oh, here we go again. But it just added so much to the story. Like, I've got to work this puzzle out, but I've got to take Yorda here first. So you really have to use your brain. And again, with the puzzles we can talk about a bit later as well. But I think it's amazing. Okay. And Yorda, she does bring some stuff to the table as well. Do you remember the special powers she has, Dylan?
She can zap things, can't she? What she lights up places.
She lights up places. There's certain platforms that she can help move, like almost
That's
like,
it. She can move certain things
and
with her
open doors.
mind.
You can open doors. Yeah,
yeah.
But like we said earlier, she's not as good at your jumping. She's not as fast as you. So sometimes to get her up to a high level, you've got to sort of jump up yourself and pull your hand down. Oh, I don't know. The animation of that is incredible. Okay, it's amazing. Yeah. So, it does remind me from Buddy from Another World and Sleepwalker, and that's a bit of a weird thing to link it to. And the whitish glow around Yorda, it's obvious she doesn't quite belong with you, if that makes sense. You're different beings, and you
sound like the evil queen talking.
I do a little bit, but you know there's a good person. She's a good person. You're a good person.
But she is ethereal, isn't it? So it's just like kind of like other plane, other dimension kind of lady.
Yeah, 100%.
That sounds like quite a good chat-up line, doesn't it? Like you're an other dimension kind of lady. I'll give you a drink.
In the game, like I said, there's shadow monsters that appear. They're quite scary looking. Okay, but it does annoy me a little bit. There's only one real type of enemy. There's two types of shadowy monsters. One's a kind of small little ball on the floor, but most of them is kind of human-esque shadowy monsters. And if they knock you down, I mean, Ico, he's not got a good chin in boxing. He's knocked down for a long time.
No, he's got like an Amir Khan kind of chin, isn't
Basically.
he? Really?
So if you're knocked down, the shadow monsters have got a good chance of grabbing Yorda, flying her over and taking it into your pit. You've got to be quick. You start the game with a stick. You can progress to slightly more advanced weapons. Truthfully,
you get a sword in the end.
Yeah, truthfully, I only got the sword, but there are ways you can get a mace as well if you do a few extra puzzles.
Yeah.
And there is a way, jumping ahead a little bit, but you can get almost like a lightsaber. I think it's like a special sort of Easter egg secret. Yeah, so that's Yoda style for you. Full circle.
Yoda, there you
go. So basically, protecting, rescuing Yorda is one of the main primary gameplay elements of ICO. Before we move on, Dylan, because I want to talk more about the story and how it moves on, what's your view on the gameplay and your opinion?
Sucks the life out of you. Pun intended. It's not one for casual gamers.
Do you not think?
No. Because it requires every bit of you. You can't just like dive in and out of ICO, because to get out of every single room, it's something so convoluted that a basic mind like myself can't really grasp it. Thus, reaching for playthroughs, walkthroughs, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But if you've got tenacity and if you're really enjoying the graphics and everything, enjoying the story, then I'm sure you'll get through it better than I did. But it's not a game for me, I say. But again, like I said, with Shadow of the Colossus, I had to look up how to beat each Colossi because I literally couldn't work it out. Even though Shadow Colossus has a thing where if you hold up the sword, it gives you a clue as to where the sort of the points are and stuff. But even with that, I couldn't work it out. So that's just me being a thicko. But yeah,
yeah, I've never played this. I've only kind of watched the.
Look at how complex the puzzles are.
Yeah,
to actually get to those by yourself.
I mean, I'm going to preface this by saying that while I can listen to all kinds of obscure music and I can happily sit through like a 3-hour film that moves at a snail's pace where nothing happens, I think my taste in games is pretty much the exact opposite. I like it to be arcadey, action-packed, fast-moving, and this just looks. I know I'm going to sound cretinous saying this, but it just looks really boring. I'm not a fan of like games with lots of puzzles, especially ones where you have to lead other people around.
Look, this game, like I said, it reminds me of a Zelda game, and you know how much I love those games. So it kind of
really,
makes sense
you've never mentioned it before.
You never mentioned Zelda, then, right?
And yeah, I'm used to moving blocks around. I'm used, some of the puzzles literally.
Something like this one that we're watching now. So we're sort of watching the walkthrough as we're chatting. Is over a pressure pad, isn't it?
Yeah,
Block over a pressure pad. Something like that. Okay, I can just about grasp. But you're like pulling random blocks. Like jumping up to little things, like shield won't move from certain points, and you're like, why the hell won't you move? And you're like, it's so frustrating. I got a funny feeling that if you'd have picked this up when it first came out, the graphics would have just sucked you in. Now when you look at the graphics, obviously they're by today's standards, they're basic, aren't they? It's still a pretty game.
I still think it looks great, to be fair.
It's still a pretty game, but technically, it's full of rough edges. I mean, it doesn't, I'm not sure whether
Yeah,
Kind
it's-
of it does and it doesn't at the same time.
Do you know what? It's coming back to the Syndicate thing when we were talking about Syndicate a while back. Like, it's all, every bit looks the same.
Yeah.
More or less. Like, it's all kind of the same color, and I don't know, I'm just not a fan.
But see, if Ico had put in more colour, I think it would have looked worse. It's weird. It's just a whole lot of contradictions. I'm like, everything I speak about Ico is just a big old contradiction.
Would it have made it play any worse?
What do you mean? I think it wouldn't have had the same feel. I mean, I think one of the points of Ico, as I'm getting from Adrian's love of it, is the feel of it, the kind of the despair and the kind of the darkness and the whole, and she's the kind of your beacon of light. There was other kind of colourful bits in it.
Yeah, actually, there are some amazing landscape bits where you see almost lush green, but you're still kind of trapped. So
you're trapped in and you can see the lushness over there, but you're like stuck in the castle. It's like,
it's not your guys' cup of tea. I get that, but it is my cup of tea. I'll drink about 1 million Icos.
I mean, people at home screaming at me and Rob. Don't worry.
It's huge. I mean, I love it. I have to say, and I kind of disagree, didn't it? I think it is a kind of pick up and play. I put like an hour here, half an hour here. Tried a few things.
I mean, there are a lot of sofas around.
There are,
which is good. Which is good.
And I use those sofas a lot. I used to kill. I've killed these monsters now. So let me
have a little sit down, have a cup of tea.
And you literally have to yank Yorda onto the set. Sit down now.
Yeah, like you actually have to get her to the save point, don't you? Otherwise, you can't save it.
Yeah, she has to sit on the sofa with you. Look, you know I love these sort of games, and it's just like I mentioned earlier, guys. There's lots of similarities to the look and feel of Twilight Princess,
even though this came before, apparently.
Similar sort of times. I mean, I think Twilight Princess came towards the end of the GameCube.
You could even say that Yorda is a Twilight Princess.
See, that's what initially annoyed me a bit about Ico. They just ripped it off from Zelda, and obviously he's got inspiration from previous Zelda games, but this is Twilight Princess, really. Okay, with just a bit simpler, sort of darker story, which I really, really like. Right, I want to talk about, this is just a bit of a spoiler now, there's about 3/4 into the game. I think I forced Dylan to watch it earlier. You think, oh my words, there's 2 big gates basically, and there's 2 sort of areas of the castle. You open this area, one gate opens, you do lots of puzzles, the other gate opens, and you see the bridge, and you can escape. And you can take Yorda, we've done it, we've escaped, and you take Yorda on the bridge.
She keeps on falling over, bruv, though.
I know, I'm like...
The time is not on your side, she keeps on falling over.
Well, there's no time limit to this game. There is no time limit, but there is that kind of sense of, I need to finish.
There's foreboding, you got to get out of there quickly.
I've got to escape the Queen. Yeah. But then, oh man, I don't like this bit. You can pull her about halfway over the bridge, and all of a sudden she keeps falling on the floor, and then all of a sudden the bridge, these lightning bolts come up, they electrocute her, the bridge starts dragging, you're at one side of the bridge and she's on the other. You jump over there to rescue her, and then the Queen turns up.
No, Queen!
And there's dark shadow that goes over, and basically, you find out relatively soon that the Queen is going to use Yorda as a sort of vessel. She's going to use her to get her youth back, basically. So Yorda has to stay in the castle. And what's really interesting, this is a bit where, Rob, you might prefer actually. Basically, you're hanging onto the bridge, and as soon as the Queen comes and the shadow goes over Yorda's fingers, you fall to the ground. I'm like, wow, is this game over? What's happened? But it's quite an interesting part of the game where you're just on your own. And you go into the real depths, the
seedy underbelly.
Oh, it's like almost the dungeons of the really dark. You have to get up on the shore. It's crazy. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
But see, I didn't watch it from that point onwards because I wanted you to tell me about the rest of it.
Well, you finally, again, I like this bit. You get through different parts, and one really clever bit of the game is you get into this room, this big chamber, and it sort of leads. You can see the sea. You're like, oh, that's interesting. You can see a boat there. Now, what's the boat? You can't do anything with the boat. You think, oh, that's interesting, little boat. And then you finally make your way up to actually where you started the game, to the tomb. You actually think,
why am I held?
Why would you come back? But then you see Yorda on the floor. Oh my god, she looks terrible. It's like she's got no life in her.
It's like she's gone all white, gone all pale.
No, she's the opposite.
Gone dark, grey.
She lost all her paleness.
And
she's got a tan.
She's got a tan.
You go over there to rescue her, and all of a sudden, oh wow! I thought there was a glitch in the game. One shadow monster comes to kill it. Another. I was like, oh my word! I've killed about 10 shadow monsters, but I thought I must have killed about 50 of them, and they're still coming. But what's really clever, if you notice, each tomb, the room is chock-a-block with these tombs. I think once you kill one of these shadow monsters, a light goes out on each tomb, so you have to kill it must be about 100, it might have even more, these shadow monsters.
Oh man,
And
that sounds like a chore. Is it nice or is it a chore?
No, but once you realise that the lights
Or is it like the bit at
off,
the end of Shenmue when you basically just kick everyone's asses?
a bit like that,
Okay.
because you thought, I killed the shadow monsters. If I can get rid of all the lights, maybe I can finally rescue Yorda then. But no, she's still on the floor. But a door, you managed to open a door behind her. Oh wow,
Queenie.
face-off time. Queenie.
It's like Travolta versus Cage, face off.
Brilliant. And it just reminds me, I like Ganondorf as an enemy in Zelda. It just reminds me of that. It's the final showdown. The Queen, she's angry. She gives you a chance to say, leave now, or, or you will die. But you are brave. You are Ico. You've come to rescue Yorda, even though you think it might be too late.
If you do leave, does the game finish?
No, it's a cutscene, so you can't choose. Can you imagine?
Oh.
Okay, sorry, Queen.
It's not like Streets of Rage where you can say, yeah, I will join your crew, and then get chucked back down a couple of levels.
Oh, I like and actually I should say the final, before you get to the final boss, you do get a new sword, actually, a new sort of, it looks, yeah, it's not a lightsaber, but it's kind of, it's, again, it looks like the Master Sword a bit from Zelda, there you go. A little bit, kind of glowy. Oh, it's brilliant. Do you want can we talk about the final boss? Are we allowed?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. So the final queen, she is, oh man, shooting out fireballs at you. You've got to dodge it around pillars, and you basically have to run up to her, stab her with your sword,
Give
hit
her
with the sword.
stabby.
Then as soon as you hit her, the sword flings off, and you have to leg it. You have to leg it to get the sword again, and it's clever dodging. It takes a few hits. It took me a few goes to do it, truthfully, but finally you get your sword. Grrr!
Have it, Queenie.
The Queen, no! And then you think that's over, you think you've done it. Then the castle collapses.
No. Oh.
And
There's always a self-destruct sequence, Adrian. Yeah, if you don't, you haven't learned this from games now.
Oh man, it's brilliant. So the walls are falling behind you. And actually, I think you get knocked out, and Yorda comes up, and doesn't look well. She looks like half dead, but she somehow carries you to the boat.
Oh, now she's strong.
Yeah, now that she's like...
Now she wakes up.
Yeah. What?
I loved it. It was so nice. And you felt, oh, Yorda, thank you. And she carries you to the boat. And what's really sad is you kind of know she can't leave with you. She's kind of stuck in that castle. So she lets the boat off. Well, it's a bit of luck because you see loads of things falling around you. It's a lovely cutscene, beautiful scenes. The boat just swims away. You're still unconscious. You know what's going on. And Yorda just almost waves you off.
Oh,
Sad. And then the credits come.
That's tear-jerking. And that's the story.
But there's a but.
Oh.
After the credits, you wash up on a desert island, and you can play this bit. You can literally walk around this desert island. What is this? And again, what I love about this game is you just think, oh, you can just walk up and down this beach. It's kind of the end of the game. It kind of explains what's going to happen next. You've got a new life, a new beginning. But if you keep walking up this beach, it felt like 10 minutes. It probably was a couple of minutes. If you kept walking up and up, you see something washed up in the sea, don't you?
Oh no, who's washed up?
A girl.
No.
That looks it's quite similar to someone you've been trying to rescue
Who's that?
all the game. Well, it doesn't explicitly tell you, but it looks like it's the human version of Yorda.
No.
And then finally she wakes up and yes.
How did she get off the castle thing?
Well, we'll never know.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
Do you know what I think?
Go for it.
I love a happy ending. Sorry, Rob. I do love a happy ending.
Especially after what you've been through.
I think that that was a real girl, and that kind of thing you were meant to be saving wasn't even a real person. So basically, you have Ico, this evil horn child, who murdered this queen, who was just trying to kind of carry out a basic, kind of process
basic
to stay alive. Without her, the castle collapses. Probably all those like kind of beings you refer to as quote unquote monsters. They're monsters. How dare you make that assumption?
They might just be kitchen hands or something.
The shadow monsters you find out kind of were people like you who were put in the tombs.
You see, she's keeping all of them alive, giving them eternal life, and evil Ico kills the queen, and what for nothing? Like that ghost kind of being dies anyway,
Ico,
like the girl was on the island all the time.
There's lots of people wagging their fingers now.
They're shaking. We've made a lot of people angry on their drives home now. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, because I would love to hear Fumito's opinion about your story, Rob. Whether you nailed it, you could be the first person.
I prefer Adrian's version of the story.
Oh man, just looking at it now, there's the gameplay's amazing. I think PS1 games, PS2 games, they're testing out 3D graphics, and sometimes in these kind of 3D open world sort of games, it's hard to navigate well, isn't it? Mm-hmm. The camera swings around. Personally, I had no trouble. It was never like, I meant to go left. It kind of went a weird angle.
The camera is pretty good in this.
It is spot on, mate. You know, the game. You always, if you make a bad jump, it's on you. It's not the game's fault. It's not bad camera angles.
And I like how in certain sort of, if you're near something that looks pretty, it will kind of swing round, so you can kind of see everything in it. Because you can control it yourself, can't you? A little bit with the right analog stick.
A little bit, yeah.
But then the way it kind of like swings around, it's very pretty and it's very clever how it does it.
Yeah, some of the lands, like there's a lovely windmill. We're just looking at that. It's absolutely incredible. Like windmills, they've got huge pillars, castles. It's again, I love the look and feel of it. I think, and look, a good example here of Yorda trying to jump over. She can't reach it without your help. And sometimes you think she's going to fall, but no,
you can catch her.
You can always catch her. My favourite, and the animation for the characters is amazing. My favourite by far, and it's a bit of a weird one, is honestly just grabbing Yorda's hand. The animation, I'm sure, I don't know if I imagine it, but when you're pulling it, it's got that kind of shock, you know, in the PlayStation controller. I'm sure there's that little shock, tug. You can really feel it. You can almost. I wouldn't want to see a chiropractor bill at the end of it though. Her poor shoulders at the end of it. You know what I mean? I've written a review about the game. It's on the site.
Have a read.
Beautiful game. If you're looking for a kind of very simple-ish Zelda game, I put my hands up, Dylan. I did use a walkthrough once or twice. I won't lie.
Oh, did you?
I did, and I felt bad. But I was desperate to keep going. I thought, how do I do this puzzle? And it's pretty obvious, I think, overall. But I've grown up on these games, mate. You know, Ocarina of Times and stuff like this. There are a few negatives. There you go.
Here we go. Go on then.
It's a short game.
Not for me. There you go. That negative that you have is not a negative for me because I'm too stupid to play.
It keeps a record of how long it took me. I think it took me about 8 hours to complete. I think the average sort of gameplay is about 6 to 8 hours. I didn't want to rush it. I wanted to take my time, try and work out the puzzles myself most of the time, truthfully. But it's quite a short game in the grand scheme of things. The fighting in the game is relatively simplistic. It's literally
swish, swish, swish,
left, swish, right. You know, you can jump around with your sword a bit, but it's not too much. There's not many different action buttons for your swords and weapons. But that's about the only negatives I can find, really.
Don't you get a bit bored, like seeing the princess being grabbed every 5 minutes and having to do the same thing over and over?
No. I'll tell you why I did it, Rob, because the shadow monsters, I know they come up, it looks like they come up very often, but if you get rid of them, they're gone in that stage forever. Does that make sense? So it's not like they keep coming back, and they don't come as often as you may realise. And it doesn't get... If they kept coming all the time, or...
I hate respawning in games.
Yeah, if they kept respawning, it would get annoying. But I think they've just about got it right, personally. Just about. Do you want some trivia about the game?
Love a bit of trivia.
We love the trivia. Look at this. Look at the cover.
It's gorgeous. It's a nice cover for the game.
Love it.
It's like nice, and it's a nice little setting, and it's a nice, nicely drawn.
It
looks almost like the background of a Salvador Dali painting.
The original artwork, which I think was actually done for ICO, I think it was done by Fumito himself. He was an artist a bit as well. Don't quote me on that. I'm not completely sure, but I think he did it. It was inspired by quite a famous surrealist painter called Giorgio di Chirico. And I've been looking at it. He's got a famous picture of a lighthouse. I love that kind of muted artwork. I find it incredible, personally. It's really up my alley. Like I said, it was originally supposed to be for a PlayStation, but development was halted and then continued for the PS2. The European limited edition version has a double cardboard sleeve case and contains 4 postcard-sized art cards. I haven't got those.
I've got that, but not the cards. Someone's had those away.
Fair enough. In 2004, an author, Miyuki Miyabi, released a novel in Japan based on the game. She wrote it because of her love of the game.
Fan fiction.
I don't know if it's, Rob, I don't know how big it is. I'm not sure if it's like a proper legit.
Could be bigger than fan fiction. We don't know. We don't know.
But that is what it is, literally.
Yeah, but she's a fan. She made the fiction, but it could be international bestseller, ICO.
Yeah. And there are rumours that a film adaptation of ICO and maybe also Shadow of the Colossus might be made into a film, which I would watch.
I don't know if I would watch that.
Fair enough.
Would you want to watch it more than Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie?
You know what? I probably would, if I'm being completely honest with you. I like the simple story of ICO. I think it could be done pretty well as a film.
Could you horseshoe Jim Carrey into...
Who would he play? The Queen, maybe? Can you imagine?
Horseshoe, shoehorn, I mean.
Yeah.
Horseshoe. Want a horseshoe, Jim Carrey? You can get Jim Carrey to be Yorda.
I will eat you, Yorda, forever.
No, he's meant to be Yorda.
Yeah. Okay, well, Jim Carrey's Yorda. That'd be
Yeah.
weird, yeah.
And Melissa McCarthy is Ico.
Right.
There you go. I should be casting.
The Queen does look a lot like Angelina Jolie in Maleficent.
There you go.
Yeah,
We can
that's
get Angelina
good, actually.
Jolie in. That's a good cast.
Now, guys, I know you got to take this with a pinch of salt, but looking around the internet, I know you're going to say this is ridiculous, but I found 11 perfect 100% scores for ICO. Now, some of the sources are more reputable than others.
Were they from art museums?
Well, for example, PlayStation Illustrated. Never heard of that.
Never
before,
heard of that one,
But they
no,
gave
no.
it 100%. So I've got a few little quotes just to finish things off. And they said, I had to think long and hard about giving ICO a perfect score. It does have its slight control issues, and some people may be offended by the length. But in the end, ICO is the most brilliant experience I've had on the PS2, and perhaps the most brilliant adventure game I've ever played. Every PS2 owner worth their salt should have this game in their library, and adventure fans doubly so. Being immersed in the world of ICO and Yorda is like nothing else.
How much salt is a person worth?
And when you surface at the end, you'll probably find yourself thinking about the game more than any other you've played. And that's a fantastically good sign. Put short, ICO is simply amazing. Hey, I agree. I think when you find yourself on that shore and you finally see that washed up woman on the beach, a lot goes through your head. You think, yes. Is this the happy ending? On one kind of yes.
I'm still standing by my interpretation.
Well, maybe.
I like Adrian's interpretation.
Maybe
Rob's trying to sour the
I mean,
goodness here.
you guys probably think like Daniel's the hero of Karate Kid.
Well, no, it's obviously
Johnny is the hero
Johnny.
of Karate Kid.
Of course
That's what
he
you
is.
think.
I met Johnny, haven't I? I met him.
Did you
actor.
tell him that you regarded him as a hero and Daniel was a horrible upstart who stole his girlfriend and got an old Japanese man to beat up teenagers and stuff?
I had like a second with him. He was like, shake your hand, take a picture. Cheers, mate. Johnny Lawrence. Bob's your uncle.
Oh.
Maybe PSX Extreme can change your mind, Rob, because they again also gave it 100%.
Who are, I don't even, okay.
It's just Adrian's alter ego.
ICO. Remember those, or ICO, there you go. Remember those 3 letters for the rest of your gaming life. ICO stands out among the pack as one of the most awe-inspired games to hit the console since the release of Final Fantasy VII.
It's actually say awe-inspired games.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be funny if I actually forgot the letters I, C, and O out of the
It
alphabet?
would be kind of funny.
I'm like, guys, there's like only 23 letters in the alphabet. Like, what's going on?
Me, aunt.
We can't speak so good.
SMRT.
Well, the unbelievably gorgeous visuals that feature a level of detail never quite seen in a game before are beyond words. Describing something as beautiful as ICO is hard to do. ICO is hands down the best adventure puzzle game of our time. Zelda, Mario, and Lara Croft have nothing on ICO.
Wow.
Nothing. They put the word nothing again, exclamation mark. ICO plays like
They
no
use an
other-
exclamation
They
mark.
did.
Oh, God.
This is respected, this PSX Extreme, mate. ICO plays like no other game. The sheer brilliance that is in this title is a title that doesn't just come along as frequently as it really should. ICO is a journey to be remembered from the moment you pick up the controller to the moment the credits roll. Which is technically wrong, because after the credits, there's still a bit of debate. It's quite possible that very few games will be able to compare what Sony's ICO has just achieved. I'd especially like to see Nintendo pull something off. But at that rate, they're going, it doesn't seem likely. Ooh.
Controversial.
I know, right?
Do you think that guy is one of those people who switched off when the credits came and never got to see the end bit? Like those people who go to see a Marvel film and then
Oh
don't
my God,
wait.
you have to stay to the end of the credits in a Marvel film. Like, there's people at home that don't know that.
And then they go home and they go, What?
What?
Actually,
They're like, who's going to be in the next film?
then this is another big spoiler, but I'm going to do it because I'm a bad boy. There's an alternative ending to ICO.
No.
Because you get washed up on the beach, and I just walk straight up to the person. Oh, wow, I think it's Yorda. If you look around a bit more, you can see some watermelons on the beach. If you pick up a watermelon and carry it towards, we'll say it's Yorda, then you go and meet her. She wakes up, and you're seen eating watermelons together.
Oh.
That's the alternative ending.
Oh, that's nice.
That's nice, isn't it? Watermelons.
I want to play the game now because that's nice.
So, sorry if there's a little bit spoiler. Look out for watermelons. I think it's only fair to put in a negative review. Ugh. Gamer 2.0.
That's me, sorry.
They gave the game 67%.
67. I mean, I don't think I'd give it that
More
low.
like Gamer 0.0 in your book, right, Adrian?
No.
Exactly. Ugh. ICO isn't a bad game. It's just not all that great. It'll be cherished by the hardcore as some renaissance of gaming godliness. But to the rest of us, it's just another one of those 5-hour bargain bin games that you'll probably never get into. I mean, come on. If you want a good adventure game for the PlayStation 2, check out Escape from Monkey Island or maybe even Silent Hill 2.
See, Adrian, don't you like those
I
games?
do. But look, ICO is not for everyone, but if you enjoy it, all the more power to you. The developer at hand definitely has talent and potential.
Bitchy much.
It will be interesting to see what else they can make and whether or not they can pull it off. Better luck next time. What is that? I mean,
What
I
a
thought that
great
was
sign off.
that's a joke, isn't it? Let's be honest.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. That
Oh,
is...
God. No, I'm angry at Gamer 2.0. I think you can,
I'll have to rewrite
that's
that.
probably the queen of ICO. Grr, I'm going to get my revenge.
I don't think
Adrian
the
shakes
Queen
his
would have
fist.
said more power to you if you like this game.
Oh dear. All right, legacy. The legacy of ICO. We know it's left a legacy. Are you ready for this? This is
Would you say it was an iconic game?
He did it before you.
Boo. Right, so ICO is stated by Chris Kohler of Wired, so good old Wired, to have influenced other video games. So I think he's spoken to a number of people, and apparently, I might pronounce these names wrong, so I apologise. A few game developers such as IG Anuma, Hideo Kojima, and Jordan Mechner have all cited,
Pillars of Persia, do you?
have all cited ICO as having influenced the visual appearance of their games, including Twilight Princess, there you go, Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, and Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time.
Sands of Time. Mm-hmm.
Now it's weird, isn't it? Because Prince of Persia inspired ICO, then
And
ICO
then it
inspired.
it back. It's Circle of Life.
It's The Sands of Time, baby.
Sands of that time.
One of our most popular ever blogs, interviews was Mark Laidlaw.
Yes.
He's got on the act. He says here,
He of Half-Life writer fame, if people don't know the name.
bit of a ledge. Yeah, the scriptwriter for Half-Life series, he commented that among several other more memorable moments in the game, the point where Yorda attempts to save ICO from falling off the damaged bridge was a significant event, not only for that game, but for the art of game design. That's the bit I was talking about. Once
It is quite heart-string pulling.
for pretty much all the game, it's you trying to rescue Yorda, you're doing all the work. You know, I know she's doing her
And
part
she's
a
trying to
little
come
bit.
up with the goods.
And then she's holding on to you.
But drops you.
Well, it's not her fault. It's it's the Queen's shadow. She couldn't hold on. It's not.
Dylan looks at Rob. Rob doesn't look convinced.
I believe you.
ICO, little bit more trivia here. ICO was one of the first video games to use bloom lighting effects, which later became popular effects in video games.
The lighting is gorgeous, actually.
Yeah, the
You know,
lighting's amazing.
It's obviously it's meant to be dull in a lot of places, but the way the use of light is very good.
You should try that at home, Adrian. I can't do the dishes. I'm in the Queen's shadow.
Oh, the Queen's
not
got
my
me.
fault.
If I hold a dish, I'll drop it. Guillermo del Toro
Guillermo del Toro.
Yes, the famous Oscar-winning director.
cited both ICO and Shadow of the Colossus as masterpieces and part of his directorial influence.
That's
Do
some
you know
praise.
what films he's done?
He's done
Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth, yeah, that's right.
And The Shape of Water and Pacific Rim.
So why isn't
And
he making-
Hellboy. He
And
did Hellboy.
Oh, it swings and roundabouts. A circle of life, swings and roundabouts.
Full circle? This is one of my favourite facts. Well, it's not even a fact. It's more of just a bit of trivia. Wow, you tell
We're just
me.
in a massive Venn diagram right now.
Yeah. Johnny Greenwood. We know Johnny Greenwood?
Radiohead. and many soundtrack albums.
He considers, of his top 10 video games, ICO might be the best one.
What?
So,
what a nerd.
Nerd.
Johnny Greenwood, mate. Just saying. Now,
Do you say Ico is the Radiohead of games?
yes, I would.
For
Only
some,
cool
not
people
for
get
many.
HD remaster. So ICO, along with Shadow of the Colossus, received high definition remasters for the PS3 that was released worldwide in 2011. Improved graphics. They'd include the support for stereoscopic 3D and PlayStation trophies, but nothing too much extra added apparently. I
might check out the PS3 one because the PS2 graphics by PS2 standards are gorgeous.
Yes, but they're still a bit grainy. Let's be honest.
And
it's
it's hard to get a decent picture out of a PS2 these days. So
It's neon impossible.
I will look at getting that potentially.
Could be cheap as. I think get a double pack, dude. Get a double pack.
Boom! It's all about double pack. You know, I'm you know me and my double packs.
After playing ICO, I've ordered, but it hasn't come yet, Shadow of the Colossus. So I might do a follow-up pod. And
That'll be fun because I can tell you how bad I am at that game as well.
Yes, we can go in a bit more depth about that. Cause
Great.
Some people actually think Shadow of the Colossus is better than ICO. Some people prefer ICO. Some people prefer The Last Guardian. But just to sort of whet your appetite, the Shadow of the Colossus this is a prequel to ICO. It's in the same universe. It's the prequel.
It's the prequel, but it's the sequel, but it's the prequel.
It really is. So yeah, this is Rob saying it. He loves it. We're going to finish up now, but I chucked it on Twitter, like I said, and I got some comments. Our lovely Twitter buddies. So Fumito himself didn't comment. He just liked. He pressed a button. So
He did press a button when he saw it.
He pressed a button, which is cool. He liked my tweet. But Orange Caution.
Yeah, Orange Caution. Yeah, Twitter, mate.
Orange Caution. He says, brilliant game that defined what a game could be. I honestly consider it to be a work of art, and I've nothing but love for it. The follow-up, Shadow Colossus, is even better, and honestly in my top 5 ever.
Okay.
Anthony Durso.
Oh yeah.
Good. Well, he's a member of AA, basically.
The crew, really.
It's a real classic, Adriano. I think he also did Shadow of the Colossus. He did. Mike, who's making Fallen City Brawl.
Yes.
He's also
featured on Arcade Attack.
He's always tweeting stuff about us. Love it. ICO is a wonderful game. I think my favourite of these 3 Fumito Ueda classics. The PS3 remaster of ICO is excellent too. I'd welcome very much a PS4 remake along the lines of the recent Shadow of the Colossus, because you can get that on the PS4 as well now, apparently.
Yeah, they remastered it for the PS3, but then they remade it. Because there's clearly a lot of fans of it, so they remade it on the PS4.
Derek Dash.
Derek Dash! Hello, Derek.
This is going to chuck a few cats amongst the pigeons.
Hi,
he
buddy.
says, never played it.
Well done, mate.
Thanks for chipping in.
I have Shadow of the Colossus on PS4, still in the wrapping. Never played it.
Yeah. Take out the wrapping. Go on,
Take
mate.
out the wrapping,
Go
Derek.
on.
I love it. It's like when you kind of read, like a review of like a new band and like a newspaper website, there'll always be like some old bastard at the top, and there'll be one word comment. Who?
No. Also, when there's Amazon questions, on Amazon you can ask questions. Say, can you do? Does this work on this? And someone says, "Not sure, mate. Sorry." And why would you reply with that? Oh, that's funny. Andy Endine.
Andy
boy.
Endine, big fan of the show and big fan of us.
Beautiful game, one of the PSC's finest. Short and sharp from Andy.
There you go, mate. You're pretty much featured every week now, Andy.
Yeah. Item Shop DX, he says, you may wish to look into the surrealist artist who inspired much of the style. And he gave me a Wikipedia link, so I did, and I told you about that crazy artist. I forget his name now.
Cheers,
but,
bud. Yeah, there you go.
I did look at it. Ryan McClunsky, he's got a blue tick next to his name.
Wow, so he's a verified person.
So he says, one of my fave games ever. It's verified.
Yeah, verified.
Royston. I loved ICO. The relief when you got to a sofa. Yeah. After a long day's work, you want to get to a sofa, mate. Also, it demands a second playthrough. If you don't know why, I won't spoil it. Now, I've heard rumours that if you play a second playthrough, you play it again, you can understand Yorda's... when Yorda speaks, there's like hieroglyphics on the board. You can understand them more. I think there's a few extra sort of Easter eggs thrown in, but I'm not totally sure. But maybe I'll play it again. You never know.
Do it, but I mean, you clearly love the game, so why don't you just play it again?
Jeff, good old Jeff at Jeff Say Hi, said, I adore Shadow of the Colossus and The Last Guardian.
Hi, Jeff.
But ICO is my absolute favourite of the 3. A genuine classic. William Roberts, one I have, but still yet to get around to playing. Also on a demo, which I have played. Like the style, so might eventually get playing it. Time permitting.
Oh God, mate, you need a lot of time for this.
And the final few, Dravalon Seek. I'm a huge fan of Shadow of the Colossus, Icon, and Last Guardian. And he'd done a kind of laughing face. Bit odd. J-Town.
Maybe he's like an evil laugh.
I am the Witcher. J-Town. He says, ICO is a great game. Absolutely love the atmosphere. Docs said, my favourite game. Keystone. It's an excellent game, no doubt about it. But I was much more into their spiritual sequel, Shadow of the Colossus. That was a stunning game, I thought. And the last Twitter thing from TJames12 says, this was one of the first video games I ever played, and it set my preferences for immersive atmospheres in video games. Still a favourite to this day.
At this point, I'd like to remind everyone that I'm not on social media, and any abuse you send to the Arcade Attack
Directed to Dylan.
Twitter account will not be seen by me.
I mean, that's good. I mean, I can screenshot all abuse and send it to Rob, so that's fine. We're not strangers to a bit of Twitter abuse, so that's fine.
Been there, done that.
Feel free to sling it our way. I mean, I will give you my little roundup on ICO.
Yeah.
Here we go. It looks fantastic. I mean, obviously by PS2 standards, I think it and Shadow of the Colossus are the two best looking games on it. You have to persist. I mean, if you're a bit of a blackguard and you pick up a walkthrough, actually those old walkthroughs that used to be on those notepad documents, remember them?
Yes.
Pick up one of those, read it as you're playing it, and then you can just like smash it out. But otherwise, if you enjoy trying to, wandering around for ages sometimes. In fact, even that first bit when you're in the tomb, it took me ages to work out the door that kind of like clunks down, like how to get that up. It just it took me forever. I just haven't got that kind of thinking power. So if you have that kind of thinking power, perfect. It's good for that type of gamer. If you're like me and Rob and you prefer the kind of like the arcadey kind of jump into it kind of thing, probably not your cup of tea. But yeah.
Do you reckon that's a reason why you're not really into Zelda games as well then? Do you reckon that's
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Fair dues. Rob, have you got any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I'll leave you to put a cap on it.
I think it's worth playing. It's a game I've seen before. I've kind of heard about it before. I never really, played it. In 2019, guys, I completed it in 2019. Still thought it was beautiful. Still think it holds up unbelievably well. It's I'm desperate to play his other games. So Fumito, don't you worry, mate. I'm going to